Senator Sheldon. Senator Waters.
The Brisbane Airport Advisory Forum released its first quarterly progress report on the 19th of January this year, and it recommended an independent specialist. What is the department?
With an overseas firm, track assumptions and working through that airspace design work with air services, but it's air services. So we're engaged fairly
about this last year in a quan and was told that Air Services was engaging an independent specialist advisor on
Right. They're I think a British firm that's worked with a number of different governments overseas. Design review.
and selected?
Not specifically, no.
No, okay. Do you know anything about the terms of engagement?
They've been engaged for a period of time. Look, I'd have to take it on notice of specifics.
So if you wouldn't mind taking that on notice, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Of the Brisbane Airport Advisory Forum to implement a 12-month trial of extending SODROPS, removing intersection departures and requiring jets to remain and whether
has met with a range of stakeholders, particularly the community groups, to hear they had a range of recommendations and the outcomes of those. Being very engaged. I think the first couple of those trials will kick off at the end of this month, but again, Air Services will be able to tell you a little bit more detail. Preempt what the outcomes will be. We're very happy to see the trials put in place and that there's some interim measures being
options being proposed in that longer-term post-implementation review? Pardon my ignorance. And how do they differ from
be concentrating on over the next few months with tracks. So
and over what time frame are those flight path potential changes being considered or trialled?
So the post-implementation review will run last year, runs for about 12 months.
Yes.
So the outcomes of it will be sort of public.
I see, in September of this year.
It's hard to say. It's a 12-month process, and then they'll need to understand the results and obviously a process. Questions to be answered?
Okay, thank you. What work has the department done to assess any potential compensation to affected landholders?
The government would interested in
To do any
not
of that
currently.
work? Okay.
Sorry, Diane Brown, Deputy Secretary, Transport.
You'd find a way if you were asked. Has the department considered recommending that Brisbane Airport be declared as
Not at this stage. I think it's fair to say
to doing this work specifically in relation to Brisbane?
officers specifically on Brisbane noise, but that and we're providing the Secretariat to the forum. So
Okay. And what proportion of the work would you say Brisbane Airport is of that team of 6?
in the last quarter of last year, when the forum was very active, meeting noise, there's major development plans and so forth that we deal with as well, and building.
I'm sure we'll have a great interest in this line of questioning, as will Senator McKenzie. I just want to go back to airport security, conducted a reference inquiry looking into airfares in regional for the ongoing costs, which this committee estimated would, or based on evidence, would be somewhere between 500 and for flights. And remember the hearing at Tamworth, I think, was an extra 10. Or $3 to $4 a seat. I moved a disallowance in relation to that, and Senator McKenzie to make sure that regional airports wouldn't bear the cost, that councils wouldn't bear the cost. At evidence I've taken this morning in relation to Home Affairs, security costs for COVID.
And then Ms Quigley might have additional information she can add. There is work going on. It's some existing programs, which I think you alluded to. Between the department and Home Affairs.
Look at, or to try and compile data to understand what the operational costs are in regional airports, to be able to understand burden at the time. We're also looking at the program information where regional airports have got access to capital and operational funding.
In such a direction from government.
I think there's, well, I don't like look at this issue.
Okay.
And that's why we've been working with Home Affairs on this.
June 2019, so that's quite a long time ago.
Yep, so
End of
June
financial year.
2023.
So you can assure us that up until that time, when's the first one likely to come off?
We'd have to take that on notice, and I think we can give you, but there has been estimates on
I would
what that
only
expenditure
wouldn't
would
require
be.
to spend just when you expect Whyalla Airport, for
To come
example,
off.
to come off that, when you expect Tamworth Airport.
Look at that for you.
There's not much operational, that's a financial
We should be able
data.
to.
The understanding the committee got was that in Sydney they pay, and I've got this number wrong, but it's of this order, 85.
Be a reasonable cost to pass through to airlines and then on to passengers. So over these next 6 months, we'll be looking to try and go back to the airports, gather that data, and as I say, draw data from our
and they have to refund it through some ground charge, which then gets Sure. Now we've seen, this committee's seen some of those negotiations between Rex, for example, and councils, and they Gambia to be a problem solved by government. Every one of the nationals into these regional towns. They are the lifeblood of these towns. That's how people connect to education, to medical services. You know, it really is imperative we get this right.
COVID to make sure that the regional airlines were there, and even the solvency work that kept them all in the space. So we're deeply committed to that.
But respect.
I think that you might be referring to some Home Affairs activity, probably more than us.
about this, you know, was quite disturbed that no modelling had been done. It was only when this committee got somewhat angry about
we would be providing options to go. There based on the cost base of the airports and capacity to pay in terms of
well, I'm hoping that's where we're headed on this because, as Senator McKenzie and the idea might have been to make people in I know you're on side with me on this.
so, Senator, I can't preempt what the government will decide. I
right.
can tell you what types of options.
Airport that's going to hit the cap. Us from where we are with your work right now to a decision from government before that. On the table, it's a good option. All right, thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks, Senator Patrick, and I support Senator Patrick in his questions and Mount Isa to Brisbane and
Particularly in Brisbane is likely the target, not Mount Isa.
though Mount Isa is the centre of
Anyone's getting charged from Mount Isa to Brisbane.